Perfect. Hey
Hi.
everyone, how are you? How are you?
I'm good.
Ashley Amudzai here. We are so excited to bring another Thought Leader Thursday. My friend Lindsay Dugas. Am I saying your name right? Yes.
Yes.
Lindsay Dugas. I don't even know. How did we meet, Lindsay?
So randomly through a Facebook friend of a friend of a friend type of thing. So yeah, I belong to this women's group called Breaky, and so it was somebody in there. I think it was Allie from Elephant, the yoga thing.
Yes, good elephant.
Yeah. Good Elephant. That's what it was. Yeah.
I
So
I love it. I love, how I have set the intention in my business is that I'm going to connect with like-minded people and whoever that is meant to be is going to be brought into my space. And so we originally connected online. I remember I think seeing a message from you and everything has evolved from there. And I'm so excited to get into Lindsay and her beautiful practice as a Lucia Light Attendant and talk about my own experience with it. It was mind blowing. It was magical. And I'm so excited to do my next one. And so we're going to dive right in and learn all of the things, not only about Lindsay, but also with her practice that she has. So welcome to the show.
awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so Lindsay, would you share just a little bit about you and how you even got introduced to Lucia Light?
Yeah, I've been in this spiritual work for probably over a decade now. And of course, as we all know, it evolves and we evolve and, we open up to more and different things. And so I was at a meditation retreat one time and this girl comes out and she's just like, oh my God, it was like the Lucy Light. We had just gotten out of like a 4-hour meditation, like starting at 4 a.m. and stuff like that. So I had my own like experience. And so I was trying to listen to her, but I was also trying to, I don't know, be with my experience and stuff like that. And so she just kept going on and on. I was like, okay, well, that's cool. Like, I need to just go chill out. And I had to just go to the ocean. I had to just go jump in the ocean. And then I found her again and I was like, hey, so what was that Lucia Light thing that you were talking about? I couldn't hear you. And so she told me a little bit more about it. And I was like, oh, wow, well, that sounds really cool, but I was like, cool, white flashing light, whatever. And then I just wanted to stay focused on, just going within and focusing on the retreat and stuff like that. But then when I got home, I remembered and I was just like, oh yeah, I want to look up that Lucia Light thing. I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's all about, brain waves and gently encouraging the brain to go into a beautiful harmonic state. So I was just like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Well, as serendipity would have it, there was going to be a training for the Lucia Light. I've never even had a session. And I was like, I know that this is what I'm doing. And so serendipity would have it that there was going to be a training in Oakland, California, the same time I was going to be there. So I went for the training, had my first light session, and was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it.
That's how it's done. Follow
Yeah.
your heart. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. And so then I've had the light for probably about 2.5 years now. So that was a while ago.
Good. And so what was your first experience like? Like, and I'm excited to share mine too. Obviously, it's amazing and transformative, but what was it that you took away from that first session aside from I've got to do this. I got to share this.
Yeah, exactly. So each session is totally different, right? But that first one, I just felt every cell in my body like it was sparkling, like everything was coming like alive, and everybody was talking to each other. But then like the visual part started to match that. And I just saw glitter and fireworks and swirls and just out, and I was just giggling and just having like the best time ever. And I just, and like the colors that I just don't even have names for were happening. And so anyways, it was an hour-long session and I just came out of that. I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe how relaxed but energized I feel at the same time. Like it wasn't like, like a caffeine hit, and all of a sudden you're just like energized, but you're jittery and all that stuff. But I was relaxed, I was focused, I was open. I mean, there were just so many things. It was just like, wow, so
Exactly.
yeah.
When you had first told me about the light, I was a little like, you delivered it very clearly, but I was still confused. I was like, wait, you sit under this light and you have this experience. Like, this is not a psychedelic thing. You're
Right.
completely sober. I'm like, you just lay underneath this light and have this experience. And then you came to my office and I actually got to try it. And I will agree, I felt, and this is literally what we're doing, and we'll go into the details of the science and stuff like that behind it and what you can offer to this. But I wanted to share my testimony is, you're just laying there, you're nice and comfortable, and you put on this like beautiful music, and this light is literally just over you, and I felt like my brain was alive. I felt like my brain was alive in a whole new way. They say there's, we only use a certain percentage of our brain, and that's true. I felt like the parts of my brain that I'd never worked before were coming alive. And it is like this light show. And you said it's not rainbows, right? It's just like how it's flashing. So I'm not going to butcher it anymore. I'm going to have you explain that part. It is a really magical experience.
Yeah. So it is white flashing light.
Oh, it's only white.
We'll show you real quick. So this is the Lucia Light. And so this is a halogen bulb, and this is the LEDs. The halogen bulb stays solid. That's that beautiful warm glow in the beginning. And then these are the ones that do the flashing. So it is just white flashing light, but they're at certain frequencies, right? So it's at the frequency of alpha and theta to gently encourage your brain to go into that beautiful meditative harmonic state, so that your brain, everybody's talking to each other. I have a brain mapping certificate as well, and so I've seen my brain, and it's really bizarre, like what happens with our brains. Like right now we're in beta, we're talking, but there could be parts of my brain, over here or something like that, that are in complete delta, that are absolutely asleep, and that's all happening at the same time. It's freaking weird. So then when you have something that is gently encouraging your brain to go into a full harmonic state, that's when everything is on the same wavelength, theta or whatever. And then that's when everything starts to open up and people get deeply relaxed. And, when we relax, we feel better. When we feel better, we make better decisions. So it's like, there's this whole thing with this,
Yeah, and I just keep going back to how powerful it was. I saw swirls, I saw glowing red and blue and green and yellows, and I thought that was like the pattern, like these LED lights shining all those colors. And she's like, no, it's just white light. But it's kind of your brain making those connections as well. It was so cool, and I could just feel the connections. And also, I must say, like, Lindsay, you're a very energized practitioner and attendant, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Which I love. And the delivery, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. And then when it was time for us to sit under there, I was bundled up. I was so supported. I was so safe. And for me to be under this light, which I didn't really know, okay, whatever we're going to do here. I usually don't feel safe in that situation, but I just wanted to say I felt so safe with you. I felt protected, and you had your little laptop there, and you're like, if anything, if it's too much, let me know. And I just want to let everyone who's watching, if you're really curious about this light, yes, I'm sure there are lots of other practitioners who do this. Actually, I don't think that there are there?
No.
So we're going to throw that. We're going to scratch that. There's a lot of practitioners who do this, but I will say, like, I absolutely loved my experience with Lindsay, and I felt it was like perfect. And so if you guys are curious, I'm really excited to dive into what does a session look like with you.
Yeah, definitely. So that's like super important, right? And I like to leave things as vague as possible, because it's one of those things, as soon as somebody comes in with expectations, that kind of muddles things up a little bit, and it takes a little bit longer for the light to come in and do its thing, and the person to let go and all that type of stuff. But so that's the thing about the Lucia Light. She is very gentle. There's 3 different settings. There's like gentle sessions, there's medium sessions, and then there's strong sessions. And so that's what we always do. We start out with demos, just 2 minutes of a really gentle introduction, just to see how you respond to the light and to see how you're feeling. You know what I mean? It's like, this light is, it's not for everybody, but everyone should try it type of thing. You know? And then if you're feeling good and you're like, yeah, I could go a little bit stronger or more intense, then we'll do 2 more minutes of a stronger session. And then we'll talk about it and kind of see which one you're feeling more called to. For my own personal thing, I still do the demos on myself because I want to do a check-in. I want to see where I'm at today, see what I'm feeling more called to. Sometimes it's the more intense sessions, and other times it's the gentler ones because I just want to be held in that way. You know what I mean? So yeah, so then after that, then we'll get into like the bulk of the session. We'll put the earphones on, make sure you're nice and cozy and comfy, and then off we go. So yeah.
Lindsay, I like got this wave. You could feel this rush, and I was like, oh.
I know.
The whole reason I do Thought Leader Thursday is because as a practitioner, I want to have elite partnerships with people who are serious about what they do,
Yeah,
about their practice. They live it, they breathe it, they're passionate about sharing that with the world. So these are people that I trust, and I know that my audience, that this is someone that you can trust. So as you're talking and I'm feeling your energy and you're like, I do it for myself too, just makes me so happy. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming on here. Like, I'm so honored that,
yeah.
number one, you're our honored guest today, but that you're doing this work, because I had never been introduced to it before this. And so let's talk about all the different ways if someone is interested in using the Lucia Light, how would they have access to it? Individual sessions, parties? Let's dive into that.
Yeah, so I'm a mobile business, and I love that because it's easily to pack this up and just go all over. So, I mean, there's so many different ways to do this, and I'm also open to if anybody else has any other ideas. Why not? You know, let's see what happens. But so mainly, I do have a space that I can offer sessions in Carson City. I'm going to be meeting with Carrie, or calling her soon, from Pinnacle Wellness, and we're going to be putting on a special event at her place. You know, so yeah, I know, I love Carrie, and so that's kind of the basis. But if somebody wants to host a party, you know, with their girlfriends or something like that, we can definitely do that. Those are always super fun because they're more relaxed. We can, you know, hang out. Everybody can chat about their experience and, well, this and this. And so, you know, it's a lot of fun. And then, yeah, I mean, I travel all over. When I first got my light, I was back and forth to Oregon and Arizona. So yeah, I go to all kinds of different states and stuff like that. It's just, I kind of just go wherever I'm invited. If there's a yoga studio or a float spa or something that's interested in putting on a special event, great, let's do this. So yeah.
So as you guys are watching this, first of all, I definitely encourage you guys to reach out to Lindsay, because she's going to have all the updated information. We'll have that posted either above or below and how to contact her. But who do you know that you want to get together and have a party? Like, that sounds rad.
Yeah.
You know, and so let's talk about that. If someone does a party, does everybody have their head underneath the light?
Yeah, so I can do actually a group session of 4 people, or at one time, or we can do the individual sessions. Yeah, so it's definitely up to however people are feeling called. Some people, you know, because it's a very opening experience. So like the group things, you got to feel really comfortable with your friends, you know, because you're opening up your pineal gland, you know, and it's like, you know, lots of things are going to be happening. So yeah, it's definitely recommended, and I explain all this in, you know, our in my contact information and everything like that. That it's like, just make sure you're really comfortable with your friends, and or we could just do the individual sessions and, you know, just hold space for one at a time. So
yeah. And I will agree too, to the point of, you want to be really comfortable with your friends, because you want to feel that you're in a safe space to fully explore that.
Yeah,
it's like, wow, like my eyes are closed, right? But it's like, you're opening that your pineal gland, so you want to be able to say, oh, it's safe, as opposed to like, what is she doing? What is she doing? so
Yeah.
honoring that too. I mean, that's the power of this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, definitely. And that's another thing is making sure everybody's on board with the same intensity. Some might want to go more intense, others might want to stay more gentle, but I'm really good at, I mean, that's, what I do is I'm able to really listen to people and pick up on what I'm feeling called for them. And so it's really cool to pick these sessions for folks. And I mean, they're so good. Each session is so perfect for each person. So, and there's 150 different sessions that are programmed onto the computer. So yeah, it's fun being able to tune in and be able to pick the perfect session for folks. So
I
yeah.
love that. So you've shared your testimony. I shared mine. Are there any other testimonies from your clients that stood out to you, maybe before and after experiences?
Yeah, definitely. There's those ones that, I mean, you just get so moved because, I mean, this whole experience is all about, I just keep letting go and opening up to whatever the experience may be at this time. You know what I mean? And so there was this one gentleman, and he bought a 3-pack from me, and it was like, I could tell he didn't meditate. He had no idea what this light thing was. He was just told to go from a friend, and he's like, I have no idea what this is. He's like, but I just know that I was told to be here. I was like, great, you're in the perfect spot. So, so I was like, oh my God, he just needed to let go. So I was just calling in that divine energy and just giving that, like, come on, buddy, let go. You got this, By the third session, he let go, and it was beautiful. So that was like, it was very, very moving. And then, but then there's the other ones where it's like, oh my God, they're, meditators, and they just tap right in, and they're talking to their spirit guides and their fairies and angels. And I'm just like, oh my God, you're so cute. It's just like,
Because it opens that up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, and it's interesting, the ones that, they're not meditators, or, but they're open, they're like, well, I want to see what this stuff is about. And people are way more intuitive than I've given them credit for. Like, there's been a lot of people that are like, yeah, I started to have this weird pain in my shoulder, and I sent the light to it and it went away. And I was just like, oh my God, you're so, and I've had a couple people with like hip issues, and they sent the light to it, and their pain went up. I was like, wow, this is just amazing, and then there's the ones that just, they are just so blown away by like the colors and the shapes and the patterns and like the things that they're seeing, and it's so dear to them. There was this one woman who, it turns out she was from Hawaii, and she said that she saw all these tropical colors and flowers. And so I asked her, I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I was like, well, so does that mean, what does that mean for you? And she says, well, I'm from Hawaii. And I was like, oh, it's so personal. It's so personalized. Each individual, it's so personalized for each individual, and it's very, very special. So
Yeah, I'm curious to know. I mean, so in my practice as a psychic, really focusing on clearing, and I think by default, I do work with pain management, or just releasing. If there's any dis-ease in the body, it's first cause, or disease in the body, it's first cause from a dis-ease of something that's entering our energetic field. And then if it's our body and we feel physical pain, that tells us that it's manifested within our tissues. And so I have my clients envision the light gathering around whatever this pain is, and then releasing that. So as you mentioned that, I'm like, wow, what a profound tool, because it can, if you're not meditating regularly, it can be a bit of a challenge to identify, or like see that light and harness it. But with the Lucia Light,
yeah.
I mean, I could just imagine if someone's in pain and they're able to see that and they're visualizing it, just like going and clearing that out.
Yeah.
Like the amplification of that power.
It's pretty remarkable. And like I said, I've had the light for 2.5 years, and she continues to blow me away. There was this one time, I had a session, I was at an event, and we had like some sound healers there, and he had a didgeridoo, and I love the didgeridoo. I just think that's such a fantastic sound. But he asked me, he's just like, well, would you like me to play for you while you give yourself a session? I said, absolutely. And so he was like, well, which, chakra or energy center would you like me to work on? And, all my stuff is in the solar plexus, right? Like, so I was like, so yeah, the solar plexus. Yeah. So I was like, so excited. I could barely settle down. But then when I got into it, oh my God, it was so fun. I saw every shade of yellow. The whole session was that. And normally it's like, I see, lots of different colors and stuff like that. The whole session was yellow. And I just kept sending the light down to there, and the shapes and the patterns and yellows within yellows within yellows. I was like, whoa. And I came out of that, and I felt a release through my body, through the solar plexus. And I like had to process that. Like, I had to go out to the park and like process that for a minute, because I was like, whoa, I'd already had the light for 2 years, you know what I mean? And so it's like, and I've had really amazing experiences, but she keeps continuing to really shock me, So.
You guys, if you're watching this, this is next level healing. One of the many things that I preach on is owning our power. We tend to delegate, and that's okay. We have these different tools.
Yeah.
Support us depending on what it is, right? Like if it's medication, or if it's, talk therapy, all these things are really great. But sometimes it's like drugs, or it's alcohol, or it's sex. And we're like trying to fill these voids, these empty voids. And we forget that we have so much power already within us, right? So what if you have a tool like this to help you really tune in and release and let go? You don't have to take a medication for that. You can listen to some music, set the intention of what you want to clear. And then you're sitting underneath this beautiful light and making connections with new people. Like, this is next level healing. I feel like people are like, this is what I hear. I've done everything as nothing is working. That's usually my clients when they come to me. I've tried everything else and nothing is working. So I'm going to come to Ashley, the psychic, medical intuitive, the psychic life coach, and see what we can do. And it's that's why I do this. You have options. You have options like this. So whether it's pain management, or, we've talked about an array of different things that this helps facilitate the cleansing, the clearing, the rebalancing and alignment of activation,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing about the Lucia is, like I said, there's 3 different levels, there's 3 different intensities. But if it ever gets to be too much, you're still in control. You just take your hands, cover your eyes, I'll turn it down, I'll shut it off, we'll talk about it, we could go from there. You're not committed to a 12-hour trip. You know what I mean? Like, there's this whole, the ayahuasca boom and all that type of stuff, which is great. It's another tool, you know what I mean, for the folks that are called to it. But there's other ways, as well to open up and have access to that pineal gland as well. And I've had really similar but different experiences with really deep meditations as well. So it's like one of those things that I know that this is opening up my brain in those really special ways. So yeah, it's great.
So cool. And you sell them in your sessions and packages, right?
Yeah, so especially if I'm local is when I offer the packages. Generally, what I really like to do is hour sessions for first time folks, and just so that we could dive in and we can really experience the whole thing. And then after that, I like to offer like half-hour tune-ups or something like that. But if somebody is still just like, well, I don't know, then I'll do the half-hour tune-ups for them. And then most of the time they're like, oh man, I wish I should have done an hour.
Yeah.
It's all good. Whatever you have to do, because you got to be comfortable. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
So what is your long-term vision with the Lucia Light? This is an amazing tool that we have access to, and you do the individual sessions, you're at festivals, you're at local wellness shops, you're doing workshops around town. I think this is great. What is your long-term vision?
So I love the individual sessions because it's, you can really tune in with the person and give them that beautiful divine love energy while they're under the light. But I mean, even like group sessions, you can do that as well. But the group sessions, I would love to see like multiple lights, you know, because now you have that collective energy, right? So that's going to just amplify whatever, you know, the positive vibe's going to be, or whatever the positive intention's going to be. So it's like, I mean, because I've been to these meditation retreats where, I mean, there's 500, 1,000 people. You have that collective energy. Everybody is just, their focus is on good, you know, positivity, or, you know, healing, or whatever. It's all elevated emotions, right? So you get that collective together, and everybody, yeah, they, you know, even if you're the one struggling, which I've been the one struggling in those big, you have no way but to rise up, because there's so much positive energy coming in. So to get like big group things, like you know, there's a friend in Colorado. I have a friend in, I think he's in Oakland or San Francisco or Sacramento or something like that. But, you know, and there's a few other lights kind of sprinkled around the US and stuff. But it's like, if we could all like come together and just have like this whole big thing, you know, and have different spots, like, you know, during the summertime or something like that, where we have these big collective Lucia Light, you know, events, would just be amazing. So, but at the same time, in my own evolution, I also know just to keep letting go. You know what I mean? It's just
when
like,
in doubt, yeah.
and just be open to however things unfold. You know what I mean? And be open to like the surprises that the universe, you know, gives us. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun either way.
Super exciting. And I feel it keeps coming up to ask this. When you first told me about the light, I was like, oh, like maybe I could get a light, maybe my husband can get a light, maybe whatever. And I was like, maybe it's like $250. It's
Yeah.
not. How much was that light?
About 25,000.
25,000.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, first something shifted in my mind, and I was like, oh, this isn't like a Jimmy rigged flashlight. Or a Jimmy rigged,
waving something in front of super fast, like, hey!
Keep your eyes closed. Yeah. Like, this is a huge, and this is a huge investment for you, a huge commitment for you to like to travel around. So as you guys are listening to this, like, again, this is such a powerful tool that you guys have access to. 25,000, like, congratulations to you. Like, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And sharing this. I mean, that's why there aren't a lot of practitioners.
Well, yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's also not very well known. I mean, it's only been in the US for about 5 years. And the woman, Allison, that trained me and gave me my first session, she was the pioneer, and she has kind of the traveling, you know, business model as well. And I mean, you know, she can only be so many places, right? So like for the past 5 years, she's just been trying to get to as many places to share this light with, and whoever feels called to it gets one, and then they're off and running and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I've met one of the inventors, and I mean, they have put so much into this. I mean, it's been in research for over a decade. There's two inventors. One of them had a near-death experience when he was younger, and he dedicated the rest of his life to, you know, because he came back with, you know, the going to the light and the perception shift of like this huge positive shift on like life. And he was just like, well, if I can somehow recreate this, maybe people don't have to go to such extremes, you know what I mean? To get that shift, right? And so he started interviewing people that had near-death experiences. Same thing, going to the light, most of them, you know, going to the light and coming back with these huge positive perception shifts on life and everything like that. So then, of course, he got into the neuroscience and all this type of stuff. And then he collaborated with Dirk, and then they started developing this light. And so, like I said, so she's Lucia number 3. And so this is probably the third and perfected final model. You know, there is a home version. And she's like this cute little one, but anyway, so yeah, they're fascinating people. And I mean, they used all the brain mapping equipment to make sure people were, dropping into that beautiful meditative state. And so when they get all sciencey with because I have that brain mapping certificate as well. So when they start getting all sciencey, I'm like, oh my God, let's just nerd out.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my
I
gosh.
love brainwaves. It's like brainwaves in the brain. It's just so fascinating. Like, we're just wild up here.
And we have no idea. Like
Yeah.
quantum physics is proving the power of our mind. And so
Yeah.
again, this is just another access point from which we can work with these different brain waves, because we do it naturally and intuitively, and
Yeah.
being clairvoyant, having all these like psychic gateways in my language, being able to open up. But there's still a majority of our brain that we're not working with. So this is, yeah, let's nerd out together. I mean, this is bad.
Yeah.
Awesome. So this whole the Mediocre to Magical Academy is all about empowering people to elevate their lives from mediocre to magical. And after having experience with the Lucia Light, for example, you see things in a more magical way. What your brain, for example, is capable of creating and doing, and then after a single session going out into the world, and you're like, wow, colors are more vibrant.
Yeah.
I could zoom in with my vision a little bit. Like, you're not a robot afterwards, but that's one of the things that I experienced, where I was like, I was just more mindful in my noticing of my environment. And that helped me be more in the present, as opposed to, I got to be here and there, and I didn't do this and I didn't do that. It helped still those things. So that, to me, that's magical. So what would be your top tip for elevating our audience, their lives from mediocre to magical?
Well, of course, I'd have to say definitely have a Lucia Light session. and kind of see, what opens you up from there. But if you're not able to have a Lucia Light session, for myself, I mean, I can get too far out there with like the trying to manifest and create and all this type of stuff, that sometimes the more magical part for me is to just get real simple and get back to basics, man. And so that's what I've been doing lately. And it's definitely, I mean, like I told you, I just got back from a dream trip. I was in Ireland for a month. Like, that's, I mean, like, that's pretty amazing. And so I got really simple. And sometimes when you're trying to conjure up those like feelings of gratitude, it's too far to get to. Some days you're just like, I'm just not feeling it, and all of us have that, right? So it's like, okay, what is something that we can bring up within us to change our state of being a little bit? And so mine is just like focusing on something that I truly absolutely love right now, right? Like, how can I get, if I'm feeling kind of funky, how can I get an elevated feeling in this body to change that state of being? And it's like, okay, so I'm sitting there in meditation. It's just like, okay, breathing and all that stuff. But then it's just like bringing that loving, good, loving, fuzzy feelings coming in. And it's, I'll think about my dog or my husband or, some place that I, just to get that loving feeling. Because, this whole manifesting thing, like, you could think positive all day long, but if you're not feeling it, you're just lying to yourself. So it's so because that's kind of where I've gotten back to. It's just the basics. It's like, okay, if this is a loving universe, well, then let's make some more love in my body, right? You know what I mean? And it's like, open up those cells and feel those warm fuzzy feelings, instead of, because we can all get funky sometimes, right? Like, I mean, I kind of had a weird funk after being in Ireland. It was just like, I came back and I'm like, the world, I don't know, what I'm doing. So I had to like reset and, start and do all that type of stuff. But anyway, so that's kind of
I agree with you. I really, really do. And I want to touch on this because it's a fine line, right? There's a process I teach. I want to give it a cooler name, but right now it's about manifesting backwards. Because what we think we do is like, here's where we are. And then what we want is that fancy car, the fancy house, the fancy this, that. And then we're like, this is what I'm going to manifest. but we're manifesting from a place. Sometimes we can manifest from a place of lack, where you're looking at that nice new car that you want to get, and then you're looking at your car and you're like, oh, but my car sucks. So you keep
Yep.
the car dirty. You're like, oh, maybe one day when I get my nice car, then I'll clean it, but not right now. So you're living, not you in general, like people, we will sometimes live in a state of lack. So manifesting backwards is where you are now to where you want to be. What are the core feelings that you want to feel once you have this? Let's talk about like money, for example. Okay, what does that mean? Freedom. Or I want to have a family one day. Love. So it's
Mm,
no longer the things, it's the core emotion attached to it. Then you ask, now, how can I feel that now? Well, you might not have $20,000 in the bank, but you know what you can do? You can go to the ice cream shop and you can have a good old time, you know? Or you can go downtown and walk the river when they're having like river fest, and that's free, you know? So we're bringing in that freedom, we're bringing in that love. And once you, just like you said, you're keeping it simple, because once you feel that, then you're on this roller coaster of abundance and it becomes easier, and you're like, oh, I know this is coming anyways, because I'm a vibrational match for it, because the freedom and the love, I'm already there. So it's not an uphill battle, it's more like.
right.
So I love that tip, because it is something that I feel is overdone, where it's like, go big. And even my tagline is expect miracles always, always. And I believe in that, but I think that it has been overdone a little bit, where it's like, you want to do this and this and this, but you got to feel the feelings right now. Otherwise, you're not an energetic match for it. So keep it simple. That's like genius.
Yeah, absolutely. I love everything that you said because yeah, I do. And I mean, I got wrapped up in that too. Because it's just like, oh my God, I'm starting my own business, freak out. But it's like, no, I got this. And the vision that I had and what I was trying to manifest, it didn't turn out that way. You know what I mean? So then it was just like, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? And so then it's just like this whole like, wait, we do know what we want, but it's like we've got to get those warm fuzzy feelings first. And so for me, the easiest place to go back to is just the simplicity, the back to basics. So yeah, I love it. Hell
Very
yeah.
good. And this has been such an amazing interview. I feel it's just like it's full circle, and it's very like, oh, there's so much good meat and tips in this. How can people connect with you?
The best way is probably through my email. It's Lindsay Lucia Light at gmail.com, and I can type it all out and send it to you. Or I have a Facebook page that's called Create Coherence, because that's what we're doing with our brain. We're creating coherence, our brain and our heart and our bodies and all that. um, and so that's my Facebook page, and I'm going to be a lot more active on there with putting all the different events and stuff on there. So yeah, that's definitely the best way. And then yeah, like I said, I'm open. If somebody has an idea, great, throw it at me. Let's see how we can collaborate and all that type of stuff. So yeah, Reno's ready. The world's ready. Like, let's do this.
Absolutely. And so again, thank you so much for being on. I am just so grateful for all of your time and your wisdom today. We love you, Lindsay. We love everyone who's watching. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next Thursday for Thought Leader Thursday.
Oh, thank you so much. Love you too. Thank
All right.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.